Hey guys, Richard here, and today's segment is on the idea of value and how it relates to your career. I kind of imagine that there are a lot of young adults out there, perhaps starting their careers as a student and then moving on into the economic world or the financial world, whatever. And you are all wondering, how do you go about, including myself, wondering how do you go about creating financial freedom for yourself? How do you go about creating satisfaction in your careers, and ultimately how to gain a sense of contribution, or at least feel a sense of contribution as a result of you being on this planet? Well, all these are tied into this underpinning idea which is called value, and we're going to talk about it in depth here in this video. So the idea of value is really very simple, and I kind of wonder why they don't teach us this very basic but fundamental stuff in school or even in college, right? Within a couple of lectures you will get this done, right? Not even a couple, maybe a couple of minutes, maybe an hour actually. Anyways, with that said, let's go into what this idea of value is all about. So in order for you to actually gain some financial independence, there are different routes to begin with, and the route that you might take will be different from the route I take, and all that. There are different routes and mechanics towards getting financial freedom. But this video is not really about that, though. It's not really about telling you the specific. Rather, that is up to you to figure out by gaining some experience or learning about a specific field that you are interested in. But since this video is about the idea of value, let's really look at the definition of value. So what exactly is value? Value is basically a measurable amount of emotions, positive emotions that somebody gives you or you give somebody else, right? So an example is your friendship, right? You have a friend and you offer some positive emotion to that person, and that person offers some positive emotion to you, right? So you value that friend in a sense because they offer you something that you can't offer yourself, right? So that's value really at play in a very friendship manner, right? In family, we see the same thing. Families are really kind of valuing each other, right? So that is how it plays in a very social platform. But in terms of our career, how does this look like? Well, it's pretty much the same thing, right? And here I'm going to give you an example, and we're going to use the example of an investor. So an investor who invests his money into real estate, for example, acquires home, and what he does perhaps is to renovate the house and make it a higher value. So what he does, he renovates the house and he sells the house and he gets paid a lot more higher value, or gets paid a lot more because of the value he added to it, right? And the result of that is that he gets a much larger profit margin, so to speak, right? So we see this, right? That apart from that economics happening at the background, what's really happening there is that the investor is really selling a positive emotion to the buyer. Why? Because the buyer can feel a sense of value, that positive emotion, when he buys the house, because that house meets his need, right? So that's the idea of value in a very simple manner, but it really works in every department. For example, your family, for example, for dating, and also in your careers. Jim Rohn, I'm going to reference Jim Rohn here. He uses this very, I think, quite a very clean approach towards approaching the value ladder, right? So in America and in most countries around Europe, there is this value chain that happens, right? And an example of this is when you go into the corporate world, right? There's basically a value ladder, right? And Jim Rohn gives this example that if you are at the top of the value ladder, so speaking economically, it means that you're a guy of value or a higher value. Whereas you are at the bottom, if you are at the bottom of the ladder, then that means you are somewhat a lower value person. Now, according to what he said, that does not mean that you're not a valuable member to your family. It just means, speaking economically, you are not that valuable. And because you're not that valuable, you don't get paid that much, right? So the investor knows how to create value, whereas some people at the bottom of the ladder don't know how to create that value. So in a way, what you should be focusing on in your education right now is about gaining the skills which pretty much equates you or puts you in a specific place in the ladder. So what I see most students, including myself, when I was starting out, is that I didn't understand that actually there will exist a ladder economically, so such that after I graduate, people are not essentially seeking my degree. No, they are not seeking my degree, they are seeking my skills. So the way it works is that the ladder is almost like a labor market, right? It's like any other market, right? What happens is that as soon as you graduate, there is a specific requirement in order for you to get into any of this level entry or graduate jobs, so to speak, right? And if you want to get into those graduate jobs, you need to acquire or you need to have the skills. Otherwise, if you go into the marketplace with your degree and show your degree, they're not going to really listen to you. They're really looking for your skills. So as a student, what you should be focusing on is getting the skills, not your degree. Definitely not your grade. Your grades do not matter. What matters at the end is your skills, right? The skills is what they pay you for. Companies will pay you for your skills. So going back to Jim Rohn's example, basically, the more as you begin your career, what you should be aiming for is pretty much increasing your value, which is improving your skills, right? And as you improve your skills, if you want to keep climbing up the ladder, then you have the opportunity to do that. Whereas if you do not improve your skills or do not know how this how this kind of financial economic ladder works or the labor market works, then you are really in for some unpleasant emotions that probably you wouldn't want to experience, right? So the idea here, the advice here is that you need to keep increasing your value. Right, moving on to the next point, which is how do you actually go about creating career satisfaction? Well, we need to look at people who aren't really satisfied with their job. Now, I want to submit to you that people who aren't satisfied with their job, that's not because somehow their job is boring or they are incompetent or that the job is just flat hard is hard and they can't do it. No, these are usually not the reason why people don't actually accomplish career satisfaction. The real reason, apart from finding your passion, that means if you do not have a passion, that can make it a lot more harder to find satisfaction in your job. But the real reason underlining that is because you are not really trading your true value in the job that you are currently at. So people who are not satisfied with their job are really not trading their true value, right? So right now, if that is you and you are stuck in a job that you don't like, then I can almost guarantee that your true value, you know, you're not bringing that forth, and that's not being allowed to shine in that job. And that's why you're not getting that career satisfaction. So that's not ultimately because that job is hard. Honestly, if you really reach down into deep inside of you and start developing that skills and start navigating your passion and all that, then you'll be able to express yourself through that job, right? So it doesn't really matter whether you get a corporate job or not get a corporate job or you start your own business, but it's the idea of a job really allowing you to express yourself, so to speak, right? And I think that's what you should be shooting for. So we have the true value. Your true value is what you actually are capable of. And if a job allows you to express that, then you are hitting the nail in the head, so to speak. Now, of course, people who are satisfied with their job, that's exactly what they are doing, right? Because their skills and their value or their true value is being expressed in their job. So they are not really feeling as though they are not really expressing themselves, so to speak. Their true value is coming out in their job, and that's why they like their job, because they are reaching deep inside of them. They know what they value, and that value comes out in their job, and that's how they really go about doing things, right? And that's why they are a lot more driven. So the last comment I want to make here, or the final point, is about contribution. I think this topic doesn't resonate with a lot of people, but for me, the idea of contribution is about giving myself away to other people, right? So, and I think that is what it is, right? Because you take less focus away from yourself and make it about other people. Now, this does not mean that somehow you stop looking after yourself. Actually, counterintuitively, it means that you have to coach yourself, be of value to yourself first of all, and then you could be of value to other people, right? A lot of people get this wrong and then they switch this model around, and that's why they can't make their life be of contribution. So contribution is about giving yourself away by really working on yourself. And honestly, I think contribution is such a fantastic thing, and I think it's one of those things that when you look at your life, you go like, wow, things did change in this planet as a result of me being around. And that's because of, one, my value towards other people, right? And also what other people are giving me in return. So it's always an exchange, right? So that's it for this episode. I hope you really like the topic of value. I think value really underpins a lot of topic, like for example, value or becoming valuable to your family, value in terms of dating as well, relationship, all those are areas the idea of value really expands to. So I hope you see the deep core idea here, and I encourage you to really ponder on this idea, right? All right, with that said, that's it for this episode. I'm going to wrap this up, and make sure you leave your like, comment, and subscribe down below. All right, guys, that's it. Bye.